call to order the August 2nd meeting of the Hammond Capital Improvements Board. Can I get a roll call, please?
Flores.
Here.
Brzezinski.
Here.
Prieto.
Here.
Spitali.
Here.
Tyler. Here. Vanez.
Here.
Button.
Here. Let the record reflect 7 members, all are in attendance. Next on the agenda is a consideration of the past meeting minutes. Members of the board, I hope you've had a chance to review the meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Pareto. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Krasinski for approval of the past meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores.
Yes.
Brzezinski.
Yes.
Prieto.
Yes.
Spitali. Yes. Tyler. Yes. Vanez.
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is a report on the work study session. At the beginning of the work study, we talked about the agenda items. We had a very good presentation from our city controller about the listing and tracking of projects and their funding. We talked about 2 projects moving forward through the design process. One was the Alexander project that was decided that we would look towards moving that project forward, and Gazan Street between Calumet and Columbia, that we would seek additional information from our utilities. We also talked about the Robertsdale lead remediation project and the bid opening that occurred last Thursday, and a brief update on construction and projects all around the city. Is there anything that any of the other members wish to add? Okay, thank you very much. Next is item 5, funding. I would turn it over to our Commissioner, Megan Flores.
Thank you. So as Mr. President mentioned, we were presented with a listing of all of the projects that have received approval by our board or have just been on the horizon for some time now and are going to be considered in the future. I just wanted to report that the third quarter budget numbers had come through. Those were received in early July. We received an additional $3.35 million worth of funding, taking our total budget up to $8.149 million thus far this year. So we will receive the fourth quarter budget at the beginning of 2021. And to date, we have approved about $7.2 million worth of projects. Out of those projects, a little over $3 million of them are ARPA eligible projects, leaving our total unallocated funds at about $3.9 million.
Any questions for City Controller? Thanks for the great report. The future looks bright for Hammond, and we appreciate the fine effort. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is matters from the mayor, council, and other departments. Is there anyone wishing to address the board from those departments at this time? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is old business. Is there any old business? Nope. Next item is new and unfinished business. Item A, funding allocation, general geotechnical engineering services with advanced engineering services of Hammond, Indiana for on-call services in the amount of $50,000. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. President?
Commissioner Krasinski?
Yes, I'd like to make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Spitali for the funding allocation. Is there any discussion? I would just say that this is for general on-call engineering services with a really fantastic geotechnical engineer who recently moved to Hammond. They're in the 4th District. And we need this to do compaction test, coring samples, boring samples, and on-call services as needed. I appreciate the board's consideration. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores,
Yes.
Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto,
Yes.
Spitali. Tyler. Vines,
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is item B, funding allocation, design engineering for state line cross-street closures in the 3rd District from Highland Street to 165th Street, including alleys, in the amount of $97,600 with First Group Engineering. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Flores has approved, motion to approve, seconded by Councilwoman Vines. Is there any discussion? This project is, relates to state line road closures at Cleveland, Kenwood, Wildwood, Detroit, and the alleys there too, and is to make sure we don't create any drainage problems and provide proper closure of those streets. It is a result of a recent survey that was considered by residents in overwhelming favor and approved by the administration. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores,
Yes.
Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto,
Yes.
Spitali. Tyler. Vines,
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is item C, funding allocation, Fire Department siting study with Shrive Hattery of South Bend, Indiana, to determine the proper location of proposed fire stations in the city of Hammond in the amount of $24,500. Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve?
Commissioner Prieto, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Vines for a fire station siting study. Is there any discussion? It's an important project for the city of Hammond to basically create a map that indicates where the fire calls are happening over approximately a 5-year period, and cross-referencing that with available property to determine the most appropriate location for the replacement of Fire Station 5 and perhaps future fire stations within the city of Hammond, which would certainly improve the city's insurance services organization rating. Is there any other discussion? Any other discussion? A roll call on the motion.
Flores,
Yes.
Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto,
Yes.
Spitali. Tyler. Vines,
Yes.
Button.
Yes, motion carries 7-0. Next item on the agenda is item D, funding allocation engineering services, that's design and construction engineering for the resurfacing of 165th Street from Columbia Avenue to Summer Street with First Group Engineering in the amount of $105,800. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. President, I'd like to make
Commissioner
that motion.
Krasinski? Thank
I'd
you.
like to
Is
also
there-
add that this is a part of the community crossings.
Thank you very much. Is there a second to Commissioner Krasinski's motion?
Second?
Thank you, Commissioner Prieto. It's been moved and seconded to approve the engineering services agreement with First Group. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Krasinski, thank you for community crossings. Comment, we're searching for 50-50 funding. The design needs to start on this project in advance in order to beat the timeline set forth by the state. If for whatever reason the funding is not made available, we will continue to reapply until we can, and we will hold the project open for that period. Is there any further discussion? Any further discussion? Roll call on the motion.
Flores,
Yes.
Krasinski,
Yes.
Prieto,
Yes.
Spitali. Tyler. Vines,
Yes.
Button.
Button votes yes, motion carries 7-0. Is there any other new and unfinished business? Public expression, we had one gentleman sign in, Gary Dreischiff. Could you come forward and address the board, please?
Good evening. Just want to thank you for trying to go ahead now with Alexander, 6700 block, and I'll be working with my councilman Dave Warple on some other stuff. We got an alley that's all overgrown. It's on the west side of Alexander, north of the apartment building, and it's an alleyway, and it's never been addressed. So I think Dave and I are working on that. And then also Nickel Plate Street. We're going to try to clean that up, because that's on the south side of the apartment building. It's short, it runs from Kennedy to McCook. It's actually Nickel Plate Street. So we're working on doing that stuff, trying to beautify our neighborhood and make it a little nicer and everything. So, but thank you very much, appreciate it. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you. Very few people know of Nickel Plate Street in Hammond.
It's on the GIS.
Yes, it is. Thank you. Any other public expression? I would just like to point out that Matt Muda is present, and we appreciate his attendance at this important meeting and his support from the sanitary district. If there is nothing further for the board, I would say that the next meeting is scheduled for August 16th. We will have an action, so please plan on attending. And if there is nothing further, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. We are adjourned.